In 1998, a 22-year-old comedian named Tomoaki Hamatsu was looking for his big break in the entertainment industry. Known by his stage name Nasubi, meaning eggplant because of his long, narrow face, he had grown up in Fukushima, where his unusual appearance made him a target for bullying. Humor became his way of coping and connecting with people, and eventually he set his sights on comedy as a career. One day, he auditioned for a popular Japanese variety show called Susunu Denpa Shonen. The producers told him they had a special challenge for him, something unique that could help launch his career. He agreed eagerly without knowing exactly what he was signing up for. Soon after, he was blindfolded and led to a small, bare apartment. Once inside, he was told to strip completely. His clothes were taken away, and he was left with only stacks of sweepstakes magazines, postcards, and a pen. The rules were simple on paper, but brutal in reality. He had to survive entirely on prizes won from magazine sweepstakes, and he could not leave the apartment until the total value of his winnings reached 1 million yen, about $8,000 at the time. There was no bed, no television, no phone, no internet, and no human contact. Nasubi was told the footage would be recorded and reviewed later, but in reality, his every move was being broadcast weekly to millions of viewers across Japan. At the height of its popularity, up to 17 million people tuned in to watch his progress, though he had no idea. In the first days, survival was a struggle. Without any food in the apartment, he depended entirely on the sweepstakes results. His first major win was a bag of rice, but there was no pot to cook it in. He improvised by heating it in the bag over a burner. Days would sometimes pass with no food arriving. When desperation hit, he resorted to eating dog food. Not every prize Nasubi won was a blessing. In fact, some were so absurd that they seemed like cruel jokes from the sweepstakes gods. Early on, his stomach growling and his body weak, he tore open a package in desperate hope for food, only to find dog food. He hesitated, staring at it in disbelief, but hunger won. With no shame and no other option, he ate it. Another day, instead of nourishment, he received a large stuffed toy. It couldn't feed him or keep him warm, but in his crushing isolation, it became a strange kind of companion, sitting silently in the corner of his bare room. One package delivered a massive tent, completely impractical indoors. He set it up anyway, and it became a bizarre centerpiece in the tiny apartment. The absurdity only deepened when he won a shiny bicycle, which sat idle in the corner, mocking his confinement. The most bewildering prize may have been the women's bra and panties set. He held them up, confused, and then laughed. A moment of pure, absurd comedy that audiences loved. Some prizes were bittersweet. He once won a PlayStation console, a potential lifeline for boredom, until he realized it had no cables, no games, and no way to be used. A television set arrived with great promise, only to reveal it couldn't pick up any channels in his prison-like room. Yet every so often, fortune smiled. A bag of seaweed, a sack of flour, a pack of ramen noodles. These were like gold to him, transforming a day from misery to celebration. And whenever a prize, useful or useless, arrived, Nasubi would break into his joyful, awkward winning dance, a reminder that even in absurdity, hope can survive. His hair grew wild, his nails long. Yet every time he won something useful, no matter how small, he broke into his now famous winning dance, a little ritual of joy that endeared him to viewers. Not all prizes were helpful. Sometimes he won items like women's underwear, a tent far too big to set up indoors, or a gaming console without any cables. But every day he filled out more postcards, driven by the hope of the next prize. Slowly, his winnings added up. This grueling challenge went on for 335 days before he finally reached his target of 1 million yen in prizes. He thought it was over. But instead of freedom, the producers blindfolded him again. When the blindfold came off, he was in another bare apartment, this time in South Korea. His new task was to win enough money through sweepstakes to buy a plane ticket home. He completed it relatively quickly, but each time he succeeded, the producers raised the requirement. First economy class, then business class. Until eventually he had to win a first-class ticket back to Japan. When he returned to Japan, the producers placed him in yet another room. Out of habit, he undressed, thinking the challenge was starting again. But then the walls around him suddenly collapsed, revealing a live television stage with an audience cheering. Only in that moment did he realize his entire ordeal had been broadcast to the nation in real time. In total, Nasubi had been isolated for about 15 months. The experience left deep psychological marks. Years later, he would describe it as the bottom of hell. Revisiting the memories was painful, especially when he later participated in a documentary about his story. But Nasubi did not disappear from public life. His diary from the sweepstakes challenge became a bestseller in Japan. He continued working as a comedian and actor, and eventually found a new calling as a motivational speaker. In 2016, on his fourth attempt, he summited Mount Everest, a personal triumph he credited to the resilience he had built during his ordeal. Looking back, his story raises uncomfortable questions about the ethics of entertainment and the human cost of pushing people to their limits for the sake of ratings. For some, it is an inspiring tale of endurance against incredible odds. For others, it remains a cautionary example of exploitation disguised as comedy. Yet more than 2 decades later, the image of the Eggplant Man remains one of the most unforgettable in television history. A man who, through sheer willpower and an unshakable spirit, survived one of the most bizarre and extreme reality TV experiments ever attempted.